let's look at other news now. So, Joburg MMC of Public Safety, Dr. Mgcini Tshwaku, has been joined by the MMC of Transport, Kunene, and the MMC of Economic Development, Nomoya, Mnisi, for an inspection visit of some of the dilapidated buildings in and around Hillbrow in Johannesburg. For more on this, we're joined live by SABC News reporter Hasina Gori. Hasina, certainly I think the fire that we saw gutting that building last week in the CBD really having raised alarms as to what is really going on in some of our buildings in the CBD. What are you seeing out there this morning?
Good morning, Naledi, and definitely that fire that ravished and perished the Isindiso building in Marshalltown has highlighted some of the issues with regards to housing, overcrowdedness, as well as what we call hijacked buildings in the inner city of Johannesburg. We've had this issue from a few years, but it's been going on for quite a long time. Many of the administrations that have been in charge of the city of Johannesburg had tried over the years to curb this issue of hijacked buildings, of overcrowdedness, and to ensure that these buildings are kept to a certain standard. However, none have been actually able to do so. I'm going to ask my colleague Gabi to just give you a shot of the building where we're at right now, which is a Vanine Court here in Hillbrow. It is an 8-story building, but I'm told that in this 8-story building there's at least 2,500 people that are believed to be living in here. That is way more than can be expected in this specific kind of structure. As you can see, when you're looking at this building, it's derelict from the outside, dilapidated, has not been maintained. But what is quite interesting is that you can see the informal settlements that have been used, or the informal material that have been used to create different partitions just on the outside alone. What we believe is that balcony right on the top floor could be used as a second room where people would then rent out. I tried asking, some of those that are here to give us more insight while we wait for the MMCs to arrive for that inspection. And what they explained is that in one specific room, you'd find that it will be partitioned, sometimes with just as little as a string and a cloth, and then rented out, and per person, a person could pay between 800 Rand to 1,000 Rand for that specific space. So from one room alone, a person could collect rent from at least 10 different people. And this is, the situations that are inside. Some of them do not have any working sanitation, as well as electricity would be cut from that building. On the 3rd floor, when we were here earlier in the morning, we saw people using, gas stoves, as well as a fire that was being lit outside to heat water. And these are just some of the conditions that would lead to what, and these unsafe situations such as fires that might occur in this area. Also, these kind of spaces which are unregulated, and those that live in it may be undocumented migrants. It might be people that are, running from the law, and background checks are not needed for one to stay here, become dens for criminality. And that's what happened here. Apparently last night, allegedly, a man was killed and was found lying outside of this building, and that's also what led to the inspection going on today. And to give you a bit of background on this specific building, Vanine Court was part of Herman Mashaba, former Mayor Herman Mashaba's rehabilitation process, and this building was handed over to private proprietors with the hopes of it being rehabilitated, with it being cleaned out, where it would then be able to be rented out to others, in the area for a proper fee, where it could be maintained with the proper sanitations, with proper safety as well. However, due to the issue of those that actually are living here and unable to find adequate housing for themselves, they were unable to be relocated. So this building continued to stay as it is, become even more overcrowded, dilapidate even further. And as we've been told by various city officials over the last 5 days, that these are not the unique experience. There's at least 600 buildings in the city of Johannesburg that have been hijacked, that have been abandoned by their owners, that have now been taken over by informal slumlords, you can call them, who now rule over these these areas that have now taken over one flat and made it somewhere that at least 20 people are sharing, and these have led to some of the situations. The fire last week has highlighted once again all of these issues, and we've seen a blame game, of one political party, one administration blaming another administration, from provincial levels to local levels, governance levels, but also a national level. And there's also the issue of internal and external migration that have added on to the burden of housing in Gauteng itself, but also the issue of funding being needed to ensure that those that are moved from these buildings, and if they are closed down, that they are then given another space to stay, which again adds a burden to the administrations and to the purses of government as well. And these all really being highlighted consistently over this last week. Today, again, the MACs of transport, of economic development, as well as public safety expected to come through here. We expected to go into the building to get a sense of what it looks like from the inside, and maybe speak to some of those and find what leads them to living in these kind of situations, and what brings them to this kind of building and having them living in these situations.
Yeah, well, I think we definitely will come back to you once those authorities have arrived on the scene, and really quite something to see when you see the corrugated iron in a building in the CBD, speaking to the petitions that you've talked about, Hasina, and a little bit later on, and maybe you can touch on this. If there is any sort of communication right now from authorities to hear what happens after the inspection, do we know yet? Okay, looks like she's unable to hear me, but we'll certainly get those answers once the authorities do arrive on the scene. That, of course, is the Joburg MMC for Public Safety, Dr. Mgcini Tshwaku, being joined by MMC for Transport, Kunene, and MMC for Economic Development, Nomoya, Mnisi, inspecting some of the dilapidated buildings in the city of Johannesburg, in the CBD, that is.